You don't win in business by being careful. You win by being bold, loud, and impossible to ignore. That's Donald Trump's deal-making playbook. And like him or not, it works. Think big. Trump's approach begins with one simple belief. If you're going to think big. In The Art of the Deal, he writes that most people aim too low because they're afraid. They fear failure more than they want success. Trump flips that around. He believes that setting small goals is actually more dangerous than aiming high. If you shoot for small, you build small. And if you build small, no one cares. In his early years, when he could have kept developing middle-class housing in the outer boroughs like his father, he chose instead to chase Manhattan skyscrapers. These were projects that required more money, more risk, more exposure. But they also offered more reward. For Trump, dreaming big created momentum. It forced him to find the courage, the connections, and the cash to make things happen. Thinking big made him play at a bigger table. Protect the downside. Even when he aimed high, Trump never ignored the risk. In fact, he was obsessed with it. His number one rule before every deal was to protect the downside. This means looking at the worst-case scenario first, then figuring out how to survive it. Most people get excited about all the ways a deal could go right. Trump starts with how it could go wrong. If he can live with the worst-case outcome, then he moves forward. If not, he walks away. In the book, he talks about how he structured his early real estate deals so that even if things fell apart, the damage wouldn't sink him. Whether it was negotiating lower interest payments or getting tax breaks from the city, he always made sure there was a safety net. That's not fear, that's control. And control in business is everything. Maximize leverage. Leverage is another word Trump uses a lot. And for him, it's not just about money, it's about power, timing, and knowing what the other side wants. If you have something the other party needs, you have leverage. If you want something more than they do, you've lost it. Trump built leverage by keeping his options open, staying unpredictable, and sometimes by simply walking away. He also used attention as leverage, which we'll get to soon. But the core idea is this. In every deal, you must ask yourself what cards you're holding, how badly the other side wants them, and how you can make them want them even more. He gives examples from real estate where he would pretend not to care about a deal, just to make the seller nervous and more flexible. That's not luck, that's strategy. Use the power of attention. If leverage is power, attention is fuel. Trump mastered the art of using publicity to shape perception. In the book, he explains that being in the news is a tool, not a side effect. If people are talking about you, you're winning. And if they're criticizing you, you might still be winning. As long as your name is in the conversation, you stay relevant. Trump used newspapers and TV like most people use business cards. He believed in what he called truthful hyperbole, a kind of calculated exaggeration that makes things sound bigger and better than they are. To be clear, he didn't call for lying. He called for selling. Creating buzz around a project before the foundation is even laid helps attract investors, buyers, and support. In the 1980s, he turned real estate into theater. That gave him an edge over quieter competitors. Know your numbers. Behind the headlines, though, Trump knew his numbers. He wasn't just waving his hands and shouting. He studied deals line by line. He says that one of his biggest advantages was doing his own due diligence. That meant walking neighborhoods, talking to building managers, asking questions that consultants often missed. He wanted to know what every square foot cost, what tenants were paying, what taxes applied, and how to structure financing to win. He didn't leave the numbers to accountants. He used them to negotiate. He believed that you couldn't really control a deal unless you understood the math behind it. When you master the numbers, you don't just follow the deal, you lead it. Fight back hard. Trump also had a rule about conflict. If someone attacked him, he hit back harder. In The Art of the Deal, he makes it clear that passivity is not a strategy. If someone tries to damage your reputation, you respond with twice the energy. He writes that staying quiet or soft invites more attacks. Whether it was a city official dragging out a permit, a reporter writing a negative article, or a rival trying to undercut him, he answered back. He didn't always win on facts, but he won by being louder and more relentless. That doesn't mean picking fights for no reason. It means defending your brand and your position, and making sure people think twice before crossing you. Deliver the show. Another often overlooked part of deal-making, according to Trump, is the show. He says that logic and numbers alone don't close deals. People respond to presentation, energy, and confidence. He treated meetings like performances. He made sure every visual was polished, every pitch delivered with energy, and every impression strong. When he presented Trump Tower, it wasn't just a building, it was an experience. From the gold accents to the sleek lobby design, every detail was meant to impress. He believed that people don't just buy real estate, they buy stories. And he made those stories impossible to forget. Business, like politics, is part theater. And knowing how to deliver the show matters. Deal like a brand. One of the most powerful ideas in the book is the way Trump blends deal-making with branding. He turned his last name into a logo. Every project he built added to that brand. It wasn't just about money, it was about identity. By stamping the name Trump on towers, casinos, and hotels, he created a reputation that carried weight on its own. That branding made it easier to attract investors and buyers for future deals. People associated the name with luxury, success, and strength, whether or not the product always delivered. In other words, the deal didn't end with the signature. It extended into how people saw the deal, talked about the deal, and remembered it. Trump knew that a brand is a multiplier. It makes every deal easier, every pitch stronger, and every mistake easier to recover from. And branding wasn't just about logos, it was about consistency. Trump made sure the look, feel, and language of his projects aligned with a larger message. This is premium, this is bold, this is Trump. He understood that branding builds trust over time. When people saw his name on a project, they had certain expectations, even if they'd never done business with him before. That kind of recognition turns cold, leads into warm ones, and it gives you leverage before you ever open your mouth. The Art of the Deal is part memoir, part manual, and while it's not a textbook, it offers a raw, unfiltered view of how Trump made moves in real estate and beyond. The key ideas don't depend on political views or personal opinions about him. They're practical, often aggressive, and sometimes controversial, but they work. He shows that success in high-stakes business usually goes to the person who thinks bigger, protects smarter, moves faster, and sells louder. The book doesn't pretend to be perfect or even polite, but it's honest about one thing. Deals are not just about what you offer. They're about how you play. If you're ready to make big, bold moves, check out Trump, The Art of the Deal, using the Amazon link in the description. It helps support the channel, and more importantly, it might be the best investment you make all year. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep growing, keep learning, and take control of your future.